In the last few years, B2B marketing has seen evolution of a new function. We all know it as growth marketing. And while the function is still evolving, every organization has started to define growth marketing in its own way. My name is Ankur Saigal. I am the co-founder of Bamboo Box. And today, on my sixth episode of Simplifying Demand Generation, I'll try to demystify the growth marketing function for all of you here. And for doing that, I've got Avi Bhatnagar with me, who is a seasoned marketer. Avi currently is the VP of Growth Marketing at Commvault, and has been in the marketing function for over a couple of decades now. So no better person to talk on the evolution of the growth marketing function than Avi. He himself has been a demand generation lead in his past life, and in the last 4 5 years he has transformed himself into a very successful growth marketer. So I thought it would be great for me to speak to Avi on this topic and understand how the function is evolving and how different are the expectations from this function as compared to a demand generation function. Welcome, Avi, and a very good evening to you.
Thank you, Ankur. Very excited to be here today. Looking forward to the conversation.
Let me start with asking you, Avi, you have been in the marketing function for a very long time. What has shaped you as a marketer over the last 2 decades?
In the first half of my career, working at the larger corporations like the Ciscos and the Junipers and the Oracles of the world in various capacities of marketing, going from digital and demand and even product, corporate, technical programs. I was, fortunate enough to see and experience the full gamut of marketing, and gave me early exposure to a lot of different areas of the business, right? In the beginning, I was kind of more of a hands-on practitioner when marketing technology wasn't even a category. This was the early days of Salesforce and Eloqua and Documentum and Jive, those tools that were, really that martech didn't exist as a category. So being the early adopter of marketing technology gave me the exposure to understand systems and start to think about the ROI of how to be able to see value for marketing, right? Obviously, even in those early days, the core foundation of marketing was around messaging and brand and events, which are also still continuously are a core foundation of marketing today.
Right.
But that was what was the top of mind for people. So kind of being an early adopter of marketing technology helped in the journey for me to be able to see kind of the value of data and systems and being able to find that convergence.
In your last two roles, you have been leading the growth marketing function, and prior to that, I think you were the demand generation leader for a few companies. Help me understand that how different or similar is the expectation from a DG function as compared to from a growth marketing function.
There's a big overlap, I'd say. Having that growth mindset is something that's blended with a series of agile marketing methodologies, while leveraging systems and data, right? Throughout the process of growth marketing, it really involves understanding, collaboration, learning, and staying flexible to achieve these high performance results, right? But in a lot of ways, it's really, just marketing the way it is. It's a data-driven marketing mindset, right? So when thinking about the similarities and overlap between demand gen and growth marketing, I would go out of my way to say that really it's a blurred line now because of the expectations of what marketeers are responsible to be able to deliver, because of how marketing has a seat at the revenue table. There's a value for being able to think about return on marketing investments, ROMI, all those things that are relevant for marketers today, whether they're in a demand gen function, digital marketing function. Really, it's important to be able to have that right growth mindset and to be able to, think about traditional ways of doing marketing while overlaying them with the mindset of, analyzing data, being able to design and prioritize tests, iterate on those ideas based on results, and then be able to synthesize reports. All of that is important, whether you're in a demand gen, function and role, or whether you're in a growth marketing function or role.
Given how the marketing is evolving, and earlier what we used to call as a demand generation function, and now what we call as a growth function, how this is evolving, are you seeing a change in the skill set which is required to be a successful marketeer over the last few years, and as we go into 2023?
I definitely think so. Like, we were talking about marketing technology and the martech, right? We all know that the martech landscape is one that's exponentially growing, right? When thinking about, Scott Brinker's martech landscape, he introduced that in 2011, and back in 2011 there was about 150 vendors in the space.
Right.
Now, the last time I looked, there's nearly 10,000 vendors in the space, right? So
Right.
a core critical foundation, of marketeers is to be able to think about systems and being able to have the aptitude to leverage systems to do their day-to-day job. So I think that, in today's world that we live in, it's not a nice have, it's almost a must have to be able to have that mindset to think about how to be an operator of different types of systems, right? A lot of the tools that are in the MarTech landscape, pretty much all of them, it's never something that you can just purchase and start seeing results. It's something that you have to really be able to operationalize, be able to think of the program, to be able to understand the features and functionalities, and to be able to maximize the value of the tools that are in front of you. And then also to be able to think about how to stitch them together into your existing tech stack. So I think those are really core foundations and core skill sets that are required for today's marketers.
So, what is the typical profile of, say, a growth marketer in your team today? As in, what sort of background do these people come in from? What kind of skills do they have, or what kind of skills do you look for when you hire someone in your team today?
The type of skills that are a foundational for growth marketers and really illustrate some of the folks in my organization, having that DNA for being data driven, right? And when I say being data driven, it's kind of like living and breathing, thinking about how to be able to impact the business and how to be able to quantify the efforts. So
Mhm.
I'd say that that's a core foundational element to have that kind of mindset, right? And then of course, being analytical is very important. Having the business acumen, right? Being able to think about impact to the business, and being able to tie the results to what the team is working on, to be able to think about how it fits into the bigger landscape of the business goals. Being collaborative, having that agile mindset is also really important and critical. Being open-minded and flexible, of course, those are some of the soft skills, right? When being able to doing any kind of experimentations, you have to be able to think about building a strategy, executing the strategy, and then being able to constantly be able to iterate and test. So I think those are some kind of skills that are relevant and important for today's growth marketers.
I'm hearing this very, very differently, right? So if I would have asked someone maybe 4 or 5 years before, that what is the skill set they require for someone who's going to join their marketing team, I think the top two things or three things which I would have heard would have been creativity and communication, or writing skills, and some of those. Today what I hear you say is data driven and analytical skills, so which is a very, very big shift in the kind of skills which leaders like yourself are expecting for folks in your team to bring in, right? I'm sure it doesn't take away the skills around communication and creativity. That anyway has become table stakes. But what I hear you saying is that that is probably a necessary condition, but not a sufficient condition to be a successful growth marketer, right?
I make an assumption that those are the skill sets that a marketer is bringing to the table, right? Finding a healthy balance of creativity for brand plus analytics for demand is really the recipe for success.
What is a typical day in life of a growth marketer in a company like Commvault?
Within the team, there's domain expertise across various areas of demand generation, digital marketing, marketing technology, marketing operations, etc. The domain expertise that the team has, it's also really important to be able to think about collaboration across the team. So in the day in the life of, right, obviously we're all inundated with a lot of meetings and interactions with cross-functional teams, which are also very important and relevant, right? Because we're supporting the business and supporting go-to-market initiatives, but then it's also about carving out time to focus on strategy, to be able to run the different types of experimentation. So we're spending a good amount of our times in working sessions, one-on-one sessions with the teams, to be able to just kind of leverage them as the subject matter experts, as the domain experts, and then just to be able to give them the insights and advice to be able to connect the dots, to be able to stitch things together, and to be able to think about end-to-end impact to the business. So I'd say probably a good amount of time working with the cross-functional teams on collaborating, on driving the business, but then also kind of getting the face time with every single person on the team, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's stand-ups that we may have, or whether it's working sessions. I think that's a really critical component for those that are kind of thinking about day in the life of.
And when you say cross-functional teams, what teams are we talking about? Are these channel teams? These are sales teams? What teams are we talking about here?
I'd say the most collaboration happens with go-to-market teams and with sales teams as well as the SDR team, which happens to be a part of growth marketing within our use case. That it is a big part of how the team operates today.
So you mentioned that SDR is part of the overall growth marketing teams, right? So what are the touch points between the SDR and the growth marketer in your function today? As in, where does the SDR really take over? How responsible is the growth marketer to the SDR, right? So how is that equation panning out in your organization today?
The short answer is it's join at the hip. Obviously, I know as much as the meetings that are on the calendars, but I know that behind the scenes, the teams are constantly working together offline, whether it's having conversations on our Teams chat, whether it's having kind of ad hoc conversations. But essentially, as the marketing team is responsible for driving the funnel, the top of the funnel, in the form of cross-channel orchestrations, whether it's different types of email, SEO, SEM, content syndication, webinars, first party, third party, whatever it may be. But it's not just about building that top of funnel demand, ensuring that we're thinking about the quality of those handoffs from that marketing qualified lead, and then ensuring that the SDRs are fully equipped to then be able to go in and have the ability to understand the sources, understand where marketing campaigns are generated, understand what's on the roadmap in terms of what's coming as well. So we can ensure that we have the right level of support and interlock between the two teams. And I'd say that, that tight collaboration is really critical because of the amount of tactics and techniques that we're running in any given quarter. I think it's critical for ensuring that both teams are set up for success accordingly.
My next question here, SDR teams, you're saying, are part of the growth marketing function. How about the channel teams like the SCM, the SEO teams, the email marketing teams? Are these sitting outside the growth marketing function, and people in your team work very closely with the channel owners to achieve their objectives within their respective area of responsibility? Or these functions also today roll up into you as a growth marketing leader?
So they're all part of the same team. Within the team, we're a very lean team. Everyone on the team wears different hats. So we have an individual that's focused on website marketing, an individual that's focused on SEO, SEM, paid media. We have an individual that's focused on email marketing. We have someone that's focused on marketing ops, campaigns, partner demand gen. And really they're all kind of wearing multiple hats, right? Mm-hmm. And there's definitely some blurred lines in terms of their ownership and accountability, which is awesome, right? Because that way, we don't limit the team to just have certain kind of expertise. I want them to be able to get exposure to other areas of the business and learn from one another. And then really, a baseline there is, every individual contributor on the team has some oversight on some of our tools and tech stack that we have for our marketing technologies as well.
And what kind of KPIs does the team carry today, Avi?
We have a series of different types of KPIs that we look at. Obviously, some of the performance metrics that we look at are around, email performance, SEO performance, marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads, product qualified leads. When we kind of start thinking about revenue metrics, then we start thinking about like those kind of impact to the business metrics around pipeline inflow, pipeline efficiency, influence towards closed won bookings. So the metrics span across like from the top of the funnel all the way through towards the lower part of the funnel. For us, it's a matter of constantly analyzing all the areas of the funnels to be able to understand what's working and what's not, and where do we need to optimize.
And which profile within your org today sort of brings all of this together? Because you said that there is a channel owner who's responsible for SEO, there is someone responsible for SCM, someone responsible for email marketing, and so on and so forth, right? But is there some personas or some profiles within the team who are responsible for delivering some of these KPIs? Because these KPIs are not channel specific KPIs, right? These are still at a slightly more holistic level where you have to orchestrate every ammunition which you have and make sure that you are hitting the target, right? So which are those profiles within the team who are sort of charged to bring all of this together?
Definitely, it's our marketing ops individual, really. And for us, we look at this on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. We've set up a weekly scorecard to be able to capture those kind of top line metrics. Okay. And then kind of on a weekly basis, we look at all the different, impact metrics as well. And then on a monthly basis, we look at the tactics that are tied to the campaigns, how they're performing from leads, marketing qualified leads, sales qualified ops, and then, gives us a visibility in terms of the channels that have the most or least impact to the business.
But do you have people within your team who are having ownership of a given territory or a given segment, and then their job is largely to bring all of these channels together so as to get their territory to perform in terms of some of the KPIs which you mentioned? Are there those kind of profiles which are like your alter egos, but not looking at the entire geography and all the products, but a sub-segment of what your responsibility is? Is that also somewhere in the org today?
Yes, to a certain extent. Yes, it's there. So each of the individual contributors that's owns and operates one of the different types of channels, they're also responsible for the impact metrics for those particular channels. Right. But to be able to think about the aggregate level is where those scorecards are helpful to be able to look at how we're looking at the total impact in any given week or any given month or quarter. And then of course we have areas of focus really by geo locations, Americas and EMEA, APJ. We have a global footprint, and then we have resources aligned accordingly based on geo locations. We obviously have our strongest footprint in the Americas. So a lot of the folks that are, doing different types of day-to-day techniques and tactics are focused on building business and pipeline towards this particular region.
What sort of tooling is required to operate a growth marketing function, Avi, today?
The tech stack is one that's obviously we talked about very, a lot of tools that are out there, a lot of innovative tools that are out there today. Right. I'd say from a baseline perspective, we look at like marketing automation, CRM, and really CMS as our kind of three key foundational infrastructure tools, right? Okay. Because of the amount of different types of efforts that we have in these channels, right? So we look at the website as more of a demand gen marketing engine, right? Because of the opportunity for us in terms of how much traffic we get to the website. Mm-hmm. So the website, for us is an opportunity to make experiences interactive and dynamic in nature. So it's not just about content and information. It's more about how do we make experiences more personalized? How do we make those more interactive? And how do we think about really engagement points within the journey? And so website plays a critical component. So CMS, of course, and then the tools that sit on top of the CMS are important. And then I mentioned marketing automation. Of course, that's, for us, is also kind of a foundational area of the business. For all the different efforts that we may be doing from an email perspective, and being able to use marketing automation as a baseline to connect a lot of our paid media tools that we have within our tech stack, as well as different types of data sources that ingest into marketing automation. Then we have bidirectional connectivity between our marketing automation and our CRM to make sure that how leads and contacts flow from one system to the other, and the integrity of how data flows from one system to the other is also important from a CRM perspective.
So a typical growth marketer within your team looks at all of these systems at some point in time on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis to do his or her job.
Absolutely. I'd say that that's, even daily. When we talk about being data driven, it shouldn't be at the point of when there's some kind of a, deliverable due to executive teams or internal stakeholders. Being data driven is kind of something that has to be done on a regular basis, on a daily basis. If it's built into the DNA of the growth marketers, to think about that, to think about being able to go into the systems that they are, admins of, and really to be able to unleash capabilities is always highly encouraged, and something that I'm a big advocate of, for our teams to continuously to think about how they can get the most value and the most ROI from the tool sets that we have within our wheelhouse today.
Do you feel that with the current tooling which is available and what is being leveraged today, are there some gaps which can be plugged for a growth marketer to perform at a much higher level than what they are doing today? Because there's still a lot of systems which they need to look at, because the data is residing all over the place. And if you really want to become very data driven, then you need to remove the inertia in consuming and interpreting the data. So are there avenues of improvement there, or do you believe that the current tech stacks which the orgs are running today are actually satisfying pretty much what a growth marketer role requires?
Absolutely, there's opportunity for constantly looking at those gaps, right? And I think the biggest challenge that marketers in general face is the disconnect between marketing activities and revenue, also known as the second lever. So the second lever is about the lack of focus and the know-how on the conversion points. There's the whole concept of the second lever started with the first lever. The first lever is about how 90% of efforts are all done on top of funnel interest, right? Mm-hmm. But when thinking about that lower funnel, when thinking about connecting the dots and looking at the different activities that have occurred, and then being able to correlate that back to revenue, it's a big challenge, right? There's constant conversations about attribution and being able to understand the activities that drive the most impact to the business. It's a challenge and an opportunity for marketers.
Last 30 minutes have been a lot of insights. I think we started wherein you brought in the differences between the growth marketing mindset and a traditional demand generation mindset. You also spoke about what are the different skills or enhanced skills which are expected out of a growth marketer as compared to a traditional marketing. And that doesn't mean the table stakes are missing, but beyond those communication and creativity, you spoke about the requirement of an analytical skill and a very data-driven mindset. You spoke about the KPIs which the growth marketing teams are running with, and which pretty much spread across the top, middle, and the bottom of the funnel. So it's a revenue function. That's how I'm taking it as, and not a function which is responsible for generating MQAs or SQAs or MQLs or SQLs as we call it, but pretty much throughout the sales cycle is what the growth marketing function carries KPIs along, right? You said that there are three fundamental systems, which is the CRM, marketing automation, CMS, which is on top of which your website and various other properties run. And you also spoke about what are the potential gaps which could be filled in the today's tech stack in order for a growth marketer to perform much better, if I might use that word, or become much more data driven by removing the inertia to access and interpret the data, right? On that note, Avi, thank you so much. I think all our viewers will take away a lot of insights from this conversation as they start building a growth marketing function within their organizations. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Ankur.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was Avi Bhatnagar on the 6th episode of Simplifying Demand Generation. Stay tuned in for many such more insightful conversations with marketing leaders across the globe. Thank you so much.